We spoke time and time again about centre-backs at Derby County and with the potential for Erin Cashin to be moving on to pastures new in the summer, as well as the likes of Sonny Bradley and Nat Phillips moving on as well. There's Derby County's option to bring in a centre-back needs to be addressed. Now, Derby County could be looking overseas or they could be looking a little bit closer to home, and this one is another one closer to home. Just like the last couple, we're going to be looking at Nigel Lonwijk, and if you have not noticed, I'm recording this video around Christmas time, so let me know what you got for Christmas down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. But shall we get into talking all about Nigel Lonwijk? Now, Nigel Lonwijk is a 22-year-old central defender, currently on loan in League One at Huddersfield Town, but contracted to Wolverhampton Wanderers. His contract expires at the end of this current season and could be an option for Derby County to bring him on a permanent deal in the summer. Now, Derby County would obviously have to, in my opinion, make a solid case to Nigel to be able to bring him in permanently, and I do think that is a possibility. But if you look at the likes of Huddersfield Town, if they're able to get themselves promoted back to the Championship, there's also a possibility that he may want to potentially stay there. Now, Derby County have some massive moves to make this summer as well as in the January window, and this is a position which I think needs to be improved. Now, here is Nigel Lonwijk. I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so let me know down in the comments. He's 22 years of age, born on the 27th of October 2002. As mentioned, currently playing in League One for Huddersfield Town and is contracted permanently to Wolves, where his contract expires in 2025. He is a centre-back and a player who I believe could have massive impact on Derby County's side or a lot of teams in the Championship. I do think he's a player who has that ability to completely move forward in his development onto the next stage, which is at the Championship level. Now, let's look at the games he's played, because he has played a ton of them. 60 appearances in League One, 2 goals and 3 assists. 22 appearances in the Eredivisie, scoring just once. He's made 12 appearances in the EFL Trophy, 2 in the EFL Cup, 1 in the FA Cup, and a couple in the Super League, and obviously a lot of youth performances in there as well across the course of the Dutch leagues and obviously the English leagues. And he's a player who is well versed. He's got a lot of experience across a lot of different environments, and I believe he would be an absolutely wonderful signing for Derby County to bring in, whether that be today in the January window or closer towards the summer. Now, obviously we've spoke across the course of the last few weeks that Derby County are going to be looking into the foreign market, and there is some players on this list that you're going to see over the course of the next few weeks who are on that foreign market. We're staying a little bit closer to home at the moment though, and that's why a lot of these players are potential loan options. Let's see where he's played the most of his games. Plymouth Argyle, 41 appearances, 2 assists. Fortuna Sittard, 23 games, 1 goal. Obviously, we're going to take the most notice of the first teams that he's played for. Huddersfield Town, 19 appearances, 1 assist as of recording this video. Wycombe Wanderers, 13 appearances, 2 goals. And obviously, he's played for Grasshopper as well as playing for the likes of PSV under-17s, playing for the likes of Wolves Academy as well. He's got a lot of experience in his back pocket, and he's a player who, in my opinion, could make a massive difference for Derby County heading into the second half of this season and maybe even into the 2025-26 season, which is why I believe he's a player who we should be targeting for a loan spell. Now, is there probably better players out there? In my opinion, yes, but obviously the better the player, the more they cost, and we at the moment aren't in a position where we have masses and masses of money. Now, let's see where he plays. He's very versatile. Obviously, his main position is that centre-back position, but he's also played right-back, left-back, and in that left midfield slot, which can also be considered as left wing-back. So he's a player who, for Paul Warne, in my opinion, would be absolutely massive. Can play on either side as wide centre-backs, can play on either full-back position as well, and I think he could have a massive future with a manager like Paul Warne, whether that be at Derby County or elsewhere. And I think this is the big conversation for Derby County, because I don't think there's really sort of a settled situation. I'm not saying that the players aren't settled or the management aren't settled, but obviously Derby County are looking for investment, which we spoke about probably about a week ago now on the channel. And I think it's massive and imperative that that investment is sorted before the summer, because if they want to make changes at the management level, it's going to cause a big impact for players who are potentially coming to the club, potentially leaving the club. And those decisions, in my opinion, need to be made as early as possible to make the right decisions on players, on staff, on tactics and things like that. And you can't move forward with how a new manager wants to go if the old manager is still in place. Now, I'm not saying that Paul Warne should go. I think he's done a fairly decent job. I think he has his moments where he's really under pressure at Derby County, and then all of a sudden we pull out some amazing performances. We saw it at Burnley. We saw it against Pompey. Obviously, the performance wasn't quite the same at Luton Town, but it was a good enough performance, and we should have come away with at minimum a point, which is obviously really disappointing. And that's why these players have to look at that. And obviously, if we look at the depth chart, we spoke about centre-backs time and time again. You know exactly what I'm going to say about those two centre-back positions. But obviously, I'm also got to look a little bit towards that left-back position. With Craig Forsyth coming towards the end of his contract and also coming towards the end of his career, is Lonwijk going to be a player who can play in a left-back position consistently? Obviously, you look at the right-back position as well. Niambi and Ward constantly picking up knocks. Niambi's on his second long-term injury in, 8 months, and then you've got Ward, who can't really get into the team, doesn't really fit at right back, doesn't really fit at right wing, plays well at right wing back but doesn't really get the opportunity. And that's where I think Lonwijk is going to have to potentially take a position if he was to come to Derby County in those defensive areas. And I think the versatility that he has is obviously helpful for Derby County in order to move forward with what they want to do as a club and what they want to do in a formational standpoint. Obviously, we know Paul Warne loves a back three. He plays it away from home pretty much every time we go away, so it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to continue that form over the course of the next 6 months and what players he's going to bring in to make that situation easier. Because I do think that we don't have the right sort of players to play a 3-5-2 or even really a 3-4-3, because you have to have really narrow wingers, and I don't think Mendes-Lang, Jackson, Barkes and or Blackett-Taylor are those sorts of wingers. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops for Derby and for the likes of Lonwijk and Paul Warne over the course of the next few months. Obviously, the January window, as I'm recording this, is about 8 days away. So if you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay tuned, because we're going to be keeping across every single link Derby County have, and just some players who I believe Derby County should be taking a look at. Now, there is a potential loan spell on the cards, in my opinion. If Derby County want to sign him permanently in the summer, the best bet is to get him out of Huddersfield now and get him into the team at Derby County, get him settled down, get him used to the management, used to the players, because that then makes those contracts discussions in the summer. If he doesn't sign a new contract at Wolves, it makes those discussions so much easier. We've seen it time and time again with loan players who end up moving to a club at the end of the season. Ibu Adams, obviously, he was a transfer fee, but we've seen it with players on free transfers as well. And it's happened at Derby County. It's happened at other clubs around the world. And that's just something which I think Derby County needs to take advantage of. Now, obviously, just like some of the previous options, we'll add to those defensive options. And I do believe he needs that championship experience. And obviously, Wolves aren't having the greatest season in the Premier League as I sit here today. And that could be an option for them long term if they are to get relegated. And that's something which they'll obviously be looking at for the future, is those young players that may potentially have to make the step up next season when those Premier League quality players sort of go, oh, we've just been relegated, I want to get out of here. And we're going to have to see how that progresses over the course of the season. Obviously, there's no guarantee that they do get relegated, and there's no guarantee that Lonwijk would even be a player that would want to stay even if they did. So that's something which needs to be addressed this summer. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County content. We've been across a lot of transfers so far in December. We're going to be across a million times more over the course of January. So if you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell and stay tuned for my next upload.